Mic on.
What up? What up? What up? Good morning. Just in time for the bell here. I'm gonna briefly go over over the pre-market before we kind of get into the earnings from yesterday and a bunch of other news. First off, just want to start by saying que pedo, que anda, que pasa, que tal. How are you guys doing this morning? Welcome back to the channel. We missed a live stream yesterday. We were taking care of a few things.
Mic off. Mic on.
And for those of you who do watch the live streams, this will be the last live stream for the next couple of months. We're going to transition over to making some videos, some market recap. Try to put out as many videos as we can over the next 2 months. But it's time for me to go back to work, and I will not be able to live stream the market open. So I'll have to make transition over to videos. But enough said about that. We'll kind of see how we're going to transition over the next few weeks. So getting into the market recap, or the pre-market recap for this morning, we hit a high this morning of about $9.46. Currently sitting at about $9.23. We had a nice little push up before market open here, getting us just to about $9.32, $9.33, and currently sitting, $9.25. So I think we're having a decent day. We did reach overbought according to the RSI this morning. So we'll see over the next few minutes how much volume steps in, what it's looking like. First off, in the portfolio, we did close out our position in AT&T yesterday and a little bit the day before. We utilized that capital to invest into some more shares of AMC here while it was at the $9 range. So we're able to see here. We currently got about 800 shares at a dollar cost average of 8.98.6. So roughly about the same. So we're able to kind of average up without really changing our, kind of add more shares without really averaging up too much. Maybe half of a penny we averaged up. So we went ahead, closed out our position AT&T with a nice, it was 10-11% profit there on AT&T that we were holding. If you guys remember from the live stream a couple of days ago, we made a nice couple day trades. I am at the limit here on my my round trips, so I will not be able to day trade for at least another 3 more days. And it is what it is. We made a nice little profit, and then we end up losing it all plus some by doing something very stupid. At the end of the day, we we leveraged our account a little bit. Yeah, it was a nice, expensive lesson learned, but now we can stop saying that we haven't made an unsuccessful day trade on the channel here. So, you win some, you lose some, but it is what it is. On the year, our portfolio is still in the green, so we'll take it as a lesson learned. We got a little bit greedy. We started chasing, and then we didn't trade according to our strategy. There wasn't enough volume in the afternoon for us to re-enter into RHE and ride that thing out. And yeah, so I closed out the position. It just kept falling from the sky here. We'll take a look at where it was at, just in case you're interested in RHE, what was going on there. So actually, if we would have held on to the position, we would have made our money back. As you guys can see here, I mean, it's going from yesterday. It was up to like $18 at one point, down to $13.60. Now it's back up to 19, or it's $18.50 now. I mean, this thing is all over the place. So I didn't want to hang on to the position if it just kept going down, and then chances that I lose $1,000 or I get margin called on that, and they close out some position that I didn't want them to. So I went ahead and took the loss. We ended up, losing the money we made plus another 400. So, no, it is what it is. We'll take it. But we closed out our position in AT&T, pretty much dumped everything over here in AMC. So now holding about 800 shares, dollar cost average of 8.98 over on AMC. So pulling up Fintel really quickly this morning here. This is what we got for AMC on Fintel. So it looks like there's about 150,000 shares available at a borrow rate fee of 11.28. As you can see, yesterday the short volume ratio was 28 or 29%. Yeah, 28, it's 28.5. Day before that was 37. So a lot of shorting on May 5th, and then yesterday, decent amount of shorting. However, AMC did announce on the call yesterday that they did sell 17 million shares. So that is kind of why the price has been driven down over the last few days. That they sold off a good portion of the 43 million shares that they have. So they've gotten rid of 17 of those. So we'll see, when they keep adding on to them. They say that they're good for at least another year now, so they're good through 2022. And it was, I think they said it was the most liquidity they had in their 101 year as a company. So we're just kind of playing things out here, see what's going on. 408,000 down sub twos, around under twos right now. So see, volume's not really too great. And sorry guys, I got to take this call.
Mic off. Mic on.
Nice little bump in volume here that we're watching currently, sitting at about 365,000 in volume for this 1 minute candle here. So looking pretty good, up to about 939. I do want to pull over Ortex. We did go ahead and get the free trial Ortex. So this may be the one and only time you see it on the channel today. I don't know if I want to pay the $588 a year. And I definitely don't want to pay by month because it's like an extra $30 a month. But if you guys are interested, Ortex is like $80 a month, or you can pay for the entire year and it knocks it down to like $50 a month, but you pay that entire $588. So it's quite a bit of savings to pay for the year, but it's still very, very expensive. Looking over here at the Ortex, let me just refresh one more time here, and we can see the current utilization back at 100% here on AMC. Cost to borrow is up to 12.77, so it's actually down a little bit from where it was 7 days ago. Days to cover is 1.64. It's actually up 32% compared to where it was 7 days ago. Shares on loan over here, 150 million. So it's actually going back up. We're seeing things trending back up in the right direction for our squeeze. Although I don't know if this is updated with the 17 million shares that they've introduced into the market. Free float you see here, 36.13% percentage of on loan, and then estimated short interest of 2340. So here's the Ortex data. Just wanted to pull it up. We're still currently at 100% utilization. Cost to borrow still relatively high, and then days to cover on loan. So remember some of these numbers here. Utilization probably the big key. Cost to borrow and days to cover. Although days to cover is on a 3-month daily volume, so it's averaged using a 3-month volume here. So it's actually probably a lot greater than what it shows on here. And what I want to do is I want to show you guys RHE. So we talked about RHE last week, and I tried to make a video about 4 or 5 times on RHE and regional health properties. And is RHE squeezing? That's the big question here. So when you look at RHE, look at their utilization here. Their utilization is currently at 100%, right? So it's up from 7 days ago. It was at 40%. Now it is at 100% utilized. Cost to borrow is 144.62. Look at the, we just looked at AMC's. AMC's cost to borrow was what, around like 12, 13, somewhere in that range. This is 144. Their days to cover is really low, but that's because it's on the 3-month volume. And this is a low float stock anyways here, so numbers are really, really high on RHE as well. And then I want to go back over to the here. Let's pull up RHE on this and just take a look at RHE. So when we looked at RHE a couple days ago, we noticed that their utilization was just about maxed out. We saw there was 800 short shares available at a borrow rate fee of 56% according to this, and then their short volume ratio is about 20. 40 was 40 the other day, so it's kind of why they, you saw this thing drop down yesterday. So I anticipate that RHE will bounce up, and in hindsight, yeah, we probably could have hung on to RHE, but I thought that it was potentially done running. It's just really, really volatile. I mean, it swings massively. I mean, you see from 970 to 850, it's all over the place here. But I had a video that I tried to make about 4 or 5 times, and it was pretty much along the lines of, is RHE squeezing? If you want what AMC could potentially look like during its squeeze, and I think RHE could be a good representation of that. RHE has about 1.5 million shares outstanding, and the free float, or I'm sorry, 1.6 million shares outstanding, and the free float of that is about 1.5 million. So 1.5 million shares is not a lot at all, and they are already at 100%. You see all the numbers there. I would imagine that RHE has just been really, really highly shorted. I mean, obviously, it's at max utilization, and there's potential there for a squeeze on RHE as well, as long as people are buying and holding it. And I think that's the one thing that they don't have. The one factor is they don't have the apes that we have in AMC. So just very interesting, and I kind of wanted to just watch RHE and see where it goes over the next few days. But I had made a video like 4 or 5 times, and look at this here, all the way back up to 21. It was, it's kind of frustrating and hard to see. I could have just kept that position that we had, but anyhow, lesson learned. You can see the volume here, really, really high. Look at that, 700,000 in volume on this 1 minute chart here, on a stock that's only got 1.5 million float. So I don't really know how that's possible. I think RHE is going through a squeeze, and if we look at the 5-day here, we're going to take a look really quickly. So you can see the 5-day here. Back at the beginning of the 5 days, it was at 486, and then it's kind of run up to 27 a few days ago. This is when we were trading, and you can just see in the afternoon, we made our profit, we got out, and then stubbornly we got back here, thinking that power hour, this thing could potentially grow a little bit, and then it just kept falling and falling. So we got out for a nasty little loss here of about 10% on the position, which, a couple $1,000, 10% adds up. So it was about, we end up losing the profit we made plus another $414. So then shortly after, as soon as after hours hit, it jumped back up, and it is what it is. Had a slow day yesterday where you guys can see they just shorted it. It was just short yesterday. With the short volume was at 41.92%. So short volume ratio was at almost half. And then here they are back up to the 20s here. So potentially, if you guys want to scalp this thing, there's potentially some money to be made here on RHE. However, I honestly don't want to touch it right now. I'm still a little bit burned, but it is what it is. You gotta move on and move past those things. So I just kind of wanted to look at RHE and kind of give you guys what I think a squeeze could potentially look like in AMC. That this could very well be going through a squeeze right now, going from $4 to 27. There's no news on why this thing is being pushed up here. There's just nothing. 1.5 million shares in its float, right? So here we go. So not seeing news to justify a move higher. Reminder, stock has been a low float name, has 1.5 million shares in its float. So very, very low, but for some reason, they're getting 700,000 per minute in volume on this low float stock here. It's just, I don't know. I think that potentially this could be a short squeeze here for RHE. And even if I wanted to trade it right now, I cannot, because I do not have any more round trips. So if you guys, are looking to get into something to potentially make a scalp or a day trade, you got to be careful. You got to watch where it was at previously. It got up to 27, so there's still some potential here for this thing to run up. But you got to be very careful, because it can very, very quickly run back down. And as you see on the indicator here on the RSI, we are massively overbought. So this is just something I find very interesting. I kind of wanted to keep my eye on it. You can see, I think we're going through a little bit of a squeeze here. You can see it happen again. And a couple videos that I did make, pulling up the flex grid here on the 180. What I wanted to show in the video the other day was how similar AMC and RHER, right? So both very, very low initially back here in December. And this is about 1 month earlier than where we squeezed in AMC. So AMC on the bottom, RHE on the top here. Not the greatest zoom in here. It actually will look a little bit larger if we were able to zoom in, because that price there is at 15. But remember, they're starting from $1.63, kind of like us. So you can see here, this is January, this is December. It's about a month earlier than we got our squeeze initially, and then it kind of popped up, pulled back down very quickly within 2 days. Our deal lasted a little bit longer, and then kind of traded a little bit sideways here. Sorry, getting a call here. So very, very similar chart here, and then boom, now they're in their squeeze here. So potentially, I don't know. I think it's very interesting to kind of pair these up to each other. There we go. That looks a little bit better, right? So very, very similar positions here with RHE and AMC, and I think that RHE is going through a squeeze right now, but it just doesn't have the movement behind it that AMC does. So I don't know, but it's very, very very similar if you just look at the charts, and I found it very interesting. Another thing I wanted to kind of go over this morning. I'll actually just wait a little bit. It looks like we are currently not having any viewers here, so we're gonna go back over to the charts. Watch AMC here. AMC starting to make its rise up here, sitting currently at $9.61. Finally getting that push up that we desperately need. And let me take this time really quickly to go ahead and get the chat opened up. All right, let's see if that gets something going on the chat here. See if it's working here. So currently sitting about 962 here. We are in the overbought territory. And steadily rising up. So let's see what happens. That's decent volume. This is the first day we've had decent volume in a while. You can see 500,000, 450,000, 200s, 200s, 330, 250, 380. So it's not the greatest amount of volume, but it's a lot better than where we were at. If you want to see real volume, you got to look at RHE, and we're talking about 1.5 million float stock here, and they're reaching 780, 450, 811, 417, 472. Massive amounts of volume here on RHE. But this thing is going to be all over the place here. So if you are looking to enter a position, be very, very careful with this, and understand that it moves very largely. So if you're looking at percentages here, if you're setting a stop loss and a 1% stop loss, you could get stopped out very, very quickly. So be careful. Be patient potentially, but you guys, do whatever you think is in your best interest. I just think it's this is very, very similar to what we are seeing with AMC when you look at the numbers, the short interest, the utilization being maxed out, the cost to borrow being 143% versus AMC's little numbers compared to this, but this is a 1.5 million float stock. And the odd thing about this is that it wouldn't take very much for people to come in it and actually squeeze this thing out. I mean, having a float of 1.5 million, that would be nothing to squeeze this thing out. So I think that this is going through its own sort of a squeeze here. But we're all in on AMC now. We dumped our rock in the foundation of AT&T. We took out those profits. We made it was a nice little run up. We made our 11%, 10%, whatever it was, and we also got a dividend out of it, and then we went ahead and cashed out. So it is what it is. We took a little bit of profit there. We pretty much took everything and put it over here to AMC, and not looking too bad. We're already up pretty much $500 on the day here. So could you know, if we really wanted to, could go ahead and cash out those 300 shares that I added in here just to take some profits off the table. But we're not doing that. We're going to keep holding this thing. We believe in this position. We like the stock. So looks like Fubo's up 95 cents here. Everything else in the portfolio, you know, doing kind of what it normally does. Not much of anything here. And actually looking pretty profitable on our contract here. This one being the January of 2022 $40 strike. We're actually up about $16.34 right now. So we're gonna keep holding on to this thing and see what happens to this. We've got a long time for this one. So the June 18th, I don't know. I really don't know. June 18th, it's coming up fast, and we're way down on this one. So I think our average price on the June 18th is about $52. Yeah, 52. So we're at about $182 on the June 18th options. Expiration date June 18th. Strike price of $40. It is what it is. We're just gonna keep holding on to it, and you know, if we get a nice little pop, it'll make us it'll make some profit for us. See, Sends up 5 cents, UPC up 9 cents, Rocket down 44 cents. Rocket actually took a dump. We did invest some more money into Rocket. I had some money left over from something that I had sold the other day. We went ahead and grabbed up a couple more shares on Rocket here. Another, I think, 12 shares here. So we lowered our dollar cost average from 29 down to 23.80. However, I was expecting that they would have an earnings beat, and they did not. They actually did not meet earnings. They missed earnings, and it just freaking dropped out of the sky here. So it was like at 22.80 or something along those lines, and then it's just fallen all the way down. So now currently it's at about 18.50. So you know, we're at about $73 on Rocket now, but it is what it is. We'll just keep averaging this thing down, and we'll see how it goes on Rocket. Fubo, not doing too bad today. We're actually at crossing this level of support here, or resistance here. So see if we can actually hold above it this time. We were in there in the pre-market yesterday, but immediately got smacked back down. So didn't quite do much of anything. And AMC, we're just kind of pulling back slightly here, trying to reset ourselves on the RSI. And I do want to pull up a Fibonacci really quickly, just to see what we can expect to pull back to. So we're looking pretty good according to the Fibonacci here on the retracements. RSI, we're kind of just resetting ourselves, taking a little bit of a breather. We don't have as much volume as I would really like to see. Again, you know, we show you the volume on a 1.5 share float versus something that has like 420 something million. It's insane to see the amount of volume in RHE. So not too bad. We'll see if we can cross over this level here at about 960-ish, 966, and keep trending upwards. I'd like to see us close out above 10 today. Another battle of 10:01, just like last week. See if we can get back up there. Potentially we can, but it really depends. You know, does AMC step in and start selling off some more millions of shares like they did over the last few days that we just didn't know about? Who knows? I potentially think that they might hang on to those shares for a little bit longer and see where the price takes them. But to anyone, you know, I think we had made a video on this and why they pushed the meeting back, and trying to be realistic about the position, and Adam Aaron as a CEO of AMC. To anyone thinking that that you know, they were taking these 43 million and they were going to ride this thing out and they were going to force the squeeze and they were going to cash out at $100 or whatever it is. No, they have to worry about their business. It's just to show you that when we talk about institutions being one of the first ones to bail out of this thing, once it starts to get up to those, you know, $15 to $20 levels, that they will do so. If the company who knows everything that's going on with AMC, you know, they're not holding out for the squeeze. They actually sold more positions, you know, into the market to gain some money. Although there's a way to look at that and say that, you know, they did that, and then they had, a nice little earnings call. Even though they missed earnings, they still were able to clear off a lot of debt and raise a bunch of capital and have liquidity that they've never had before. And that's actually the positive note to take from the call. So it did help them in the end by doing that. However, at the end of the day, I still think that they're gonna sell these positions when they see a good number. They're not holding on to AMC positions for for a squeeze for a 100K floor. I don't see that happening. That they're looking at the numbers and they're playing this thing in a smart way. Probably not even considering a squeeze at any point. So. But they only sold 17, so they've got a few more million shares, quite a few more million shares that they can introduce into the market, and get this thing rolling. About 26 more million, so not too bad. 17 didn't really hurt us that much. It probably dropped us down. They said that was an average share price of what, 975 or 978 or whatever it is, somewhere around that 975, 980 range. That they sold those 17 million shares. So not bad. I mean, for us to go and kind of really hold that level of support at $9, just really shows you how strong our levels are. That people just bought up those shares, and we kept this thing afloat above 9. So we really like the price average that we are currently sitting at. And I do want to swing over here to RHE, just kind of see what it's doing here. Starting to kind of chill out a little bit and consolidate. Still very, very high volume here. You see 395 and moving on the current minute here. 380. I mean, this is volume that we should be seeing in AMC. 618,000, 584,000, 811,000, 782,000, 876,000. This is the kind of volume that we would like to see in AMC, but yet we're seeing this on a very, very low cap stock here like RHE. 1.5 million shares float. I say low cap, low float stock. 1.5 million share float, and then 1.6 million shares outstanding. So it is what it is, right? But I truthfully think that there is some sort of a squeeze going on here, or this is just a lot of people scalping this thing, a lot of people trading this thing, buying it up and then selling it off. Lots of buying and selling happening every single minute here. And again, it's so volatile. If we look at the percentages between 1 minute, that's 3.97% in the same minute here. And that's, that's just a medium candle here. You look at this one, it's a lot more. You look at this, you're looking at, almost 8% in 1 minute. So very, very volatile stock here on RHE. So if you guys are looking to enter a position, be very, very, very careful here. We have pulled back a little bit farther than where we were at here. So and we could potentially pull back even farther on RHE down to this level down here at 1920, 1930, somewhere in this 1930 range here. So could be done running for a moment, for a while, for a few hours. I don't know. It's very, very volatile. Anyhow, going back to AMC, we're just going to see where we're at here. Looks like they had a nice little sell-off, or not really, but they pulled back. So hopefully we're not going to see us pull back too hard here, and we'll kind of get another bounce and keep moving this thing. The one thing I would like to see is more volume that we just don't have. That's the big deal here with AMC. We just don't have the volume. So let's see what I got going up over here. If there's anything, we looked at short interest. So let me go ahead and get rid of this here. Actually, I want to see if, for one, I want to see if RHE has covered, if anybody's covered, and it doesn't look like they have. Short borrowed fee rate is still not available. No shares available to short here on RHE. Let's take a look over on AMC. According to Fintel here, 150,000 short shares available. Borrow rate fee of 11.28. So not too bad. It's kind of just cooled off a little bit from where we stood a while back. What's up, Moritz? Welcome back to the stream. Awesome setup. Awesome setup on which one? For RHE or for AMC we see here? AMC, we know that we've been following that for a while. It's a good setup on AMC, but if everyone who's watching AMC and talking about all these numbers, and then you don't go to RHE and look at RHE and think, well, shit, this is way more short data than what we're seeing in AMC. Um, I don't know. I truthfully think that there's something going on with RHE, and I think it's a squeeze. So again, it's kind of pulling back. We'll see. They're starting to get that rebound here, but it potentially may not be done pulling back. And this is kind of what we saw, or I saw last week when I was trading this thing in the after hour or in the afternoon here right before close. Is the difference is that volume really tapered off there, and volume is still very much in this thing. Remember, 1.5 million float here, and if you're doing 270,000 in a minute, or 500,000, you're doing pretty much 1/3 of your float in 1 minute here. That's massive, massive amounts of volume here for this low float stock. For anybody that's new, what we're talking about here is RHE, and do I think that RHE is squeezing here? Just pulling up the Ortex data for RHE once more for anybody who's kind of new. So looking at RHE, I mean, their utilization is at 100% as well. So over the last 7 days, they went from 40 to 100. Their cost to borrow is up from 43 to 144, and then their days to cover. However, this is a 3-month daily average volume, and my laptop over there is going crazy. So this days to cover, I wouldn't worry about this too much here. Shares on loan, 757,000. The percentage of free float on loan is actually 50% of the free float, and the free float is about 1.5 million. So you're looking at 750. So yeah, exactly right, 750,000. So half of their free float is on loan, and then estimated short interest percentage of free float is 65%. So 65% of that that free float is short interest here. So all really, really high numbers here on RHE. The difference with RHE being that they just don't have the apes. They don't have the apes in RHE. So I know we're an AMC channel, but I think that it's very could be very valuable for us to watch RHE, watch how it plays out, and kind of compare RHE to AMC, so that we could see potentially how the squeeze could play out here. This one has gone on a little bit longer than what it did earlier on here. So starting to get a nice little bump back up, but it could be kind of done here. So we got that 1 day rise where we were actually trading it. It did get a bump up a couple days before. So it started to slow, and then it just kind of, they shorted it here. If you guys remember the short data from this morning on RHE from a few days ago, it was like 40% short volume ratio. I think potentially yesterday as well. Yesterday I think was 40. This was probably 38, 39. So very, very high short volume in these days where they got the run up. So I would anticipate seeing the price be, it's going to be shorted again. And with the utilization being at 100%, where are they getting these shares from? So anyhow, enough about RHE for the moment. We're going to keep our eye on it because I really think that it's important to kind of look at RHE and compare that to AMC and say, when is AMC going to squeeze, and when it squeezes, what is it going to potentially look like? And go look at RHE. You're going to see it's obviously going to be quite a bit different just because of the float, and then the retail traders or the investors that are holding AMC. I don't know if anybody's holding RHE. I mean, obviously some people are probably holding RHE, but I can't find anything on Twitter. I can't find anything in Reddit. I just can't find any information on RHE anywhere. So it's just not the same. It's not like a meme stock, but yet it's potentially going through a squeeze itself. And I just think that it's very valuable to kind of go over there and look and just kind of compare when we start to see AMC move and kind of look at the price action, and in the future to go back to look and see like, okay, this is what they did, right? Maybe they started to cover some things, but then they immediately shorted it down to try to hold it back. From squeezing, to really squeezing. But the amount of volume that's going to pop into AMC when this thing starts to squeeze is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be amazing. again, if you were to go back and look at RHE, you see that the volume there, I mean, per minute, when you're hitting 500,000 a minute, you're 1/3, you're 33% of the float in 1 minute. That thing has been trading over its float multiple times throughout the day. I mean, it was at 800,000. I think it was the highest 1 minute volume candle that we saw in 1 minute. 800,000. If you're half, you're 50% of your free float in 1 minute is outstanding. It's crazy. That's a lot of volume. That's a lot of stocks being traded right there on such a low float stock. So I just think it's pretty valuable to kind of go back and look and compare the two. I did have a video planned for RHE and AMC, and I got super busy, and I made the video like 3 or 4 times, but there were certain things in each one that I kind of wanted to talk about, and then I got stopped by the UPS man, and we were chatting for 20 minutes or so. I'm one of those people who, if I see you out there on the streets or somewhere, I could probably, we could talk about almost anything. Just start up a conversation and probably talk for 15, 20 minutes. And yeah. So we're not doing too bad here. Again, this is pretty decent on low volume compared to what we would like to see. I mean, honestly, I would like to see this thing almost a million in volume per minute. That's when we're going to start seeing the beginning of the squeeze start to happen if we see that volume. So anybody who starts asking me, when is it going to squeeze? What's it going to go up to? Honestly, I don't know. Really, I don't know what happened with RHE. Truthfully, there was no news to really drive that stock. The difference being there, it's a 1.5 million float stock, so they don't really need a huge catalyst. They just need like a freaking whale to come in and buy up some shares and kind of help drive the price up one day. And they'll get it. So let's see we can test that 966 and see if we can get a push above here. I do want to remove the Fibonacci. However, I want to leave it just for the time being because it looks like that's a good line for our level of resistance. So we're just gonna hang on to the Fibonacci, leave it up for just a few moments, and kind of see what's happening here. See if we get that push above. I mean, very quickly we rebound up to the top of the RSI. And it looks like on the MACD down there, we're starting to cross over the signal line here. So we're getting really close to crossing over the signal line, meaning that there's still more sellers than buyers currently in this position, but it's really starting to trend the other way. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Appreciate anybody swinging by. Again, this is probably going to be our last live stream for a while, probably until the end of July. Potentially I can pop in for a live stream here or there during market open, but for now this is probably going to be the last live stream. I'll have to transition over to market recaps, and we're going to branch out a little bit more onto certain positions. Like we may do some videos on Fubo or Fisker or some other company and do like a weekly recap on that position. As we start to enter some of those positions. I do want to enter a position into to FSR. I'm going to actually go ahead and check out FSR just after. I really want to see if we get this break here at 966. So I'm going to leave you guys on the screen just for a moment. I'm going to actually make another cup of coffee here. Hopefully you guys are and girls and whoever else, dogs, cat, kittens, birds, whoever's out there watching, give you something to drink. Beer, wine, whiskey, scotch, coffee, whatever, right? Coca-Cola. I'll be back in just a moment. Ratchet Reigns, appreciate the subscription. Thank you very much. Yeah, we'll probably start transitioning the channel over and making some short videos. I actually think potentially more people maybe like the short videos. Get in 5-10 minutes and get off. You know, the less than 15 obviously gets more views on YouTube. Again, I don't really do this for the views. Basically, I'm just doing this channel so that I can pretty much better myself at trading. I want to become a successful trader. And you know, we make some pretty good day trades, and then we mostly watch AMC. I mean, we're heavily invested in AMC. We exit our position in AT&T yesterday. We closed out, made a nice little like 10-11% profit on our position there on AT&T. We took a dividend as well for those 108 shares that we had. So it wasn't a lot. I mean, 56 bucks is still a nice portion. Let me just do some quick math here. Actually, I got my calculator right here. So we were in on AMC at so we had 108 shares times it was 28.98. That's about $3,129. So very small percentage actually of profit there for the dividend. However, you add that into what we made with the 11%, whatever it was pretty good. So right now we're testing that level here. We're seeing we get a break above that level resistance at 965. But for those of you who don't know, maybe new to the channel, new to the stream, I work for a company that our largest client is the PGA Tour, and I set up golf tournaments for a living. So I go like 2-3 months on the road, and then 2 months off the road or a month off the road, depending on what tournament is coming up next for me. And so I recently wrapped up, which normally would be the World Golf Championship Mexico City. This year it was actually moved to Bradenton, Florida, just around south of Tampa. And it was just probably a week or 2 weeks after Super Bowl in middle of February. Wrapped that up, and then I've been off for the last 2 months since then. So getting ready to start the Travelers Championship up in Connecticut and Hartford, and look for that tournament. I think it's normally the week after the U.S. Open. So a lot of players have committed to the tournament here or there. So we'll see. Last year's winner, Dustin Johnson. Bobby Watson's won it about 3 times. Chaz Reavie won it 2 years ago. Shout out Chaz. So it's a nice little tournament. If I'm gonna make an early prediction, I might say Bryson wins it this year. I don't know. We'll see. DJ won it last year, and he was going into the Masters with a couple wins. So anyhow, enough about golf. I know you guys probably don't come here to see that, but just kind of want to explain what's going to be going on with the channel. You may stop seeing the live streams for a bit. There may be one that randomly pops up if I can take out 15 minutes upon open to potentially kind of go through what's happening. If something crazy starts happening in the market, I'll maybe be able to take 10-15 minutes, hop on a live stream while I'm at work. I bought a new laptop so that I could do some streaming on the road and some gaming. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. All right, as we're reaching that level of resistance, kind of just trading slightly underneath it, I do want to pop back over to RHG and take a quick look here. And it did get up to $23.80, so it did break that level. And you can see here within 1 minute where they pushed up to, just about 9.25% here within 1 minute. And you look at the volume there, 1.2 million. That's almost their entire float in 1 minute here. 1.2 million in volume for 1 minute is freaking crazy. Their float 1.5 mil. They do 1.2 million in 1 minute here. That's almost 100% of their float here. For us to do that, we would need to trade like 400 million in volume in 1 minute, and we're not even at a half of a million. We're not even. We've got to do 400, around 400 million to equal the same outcome here on RHE. This is a crazy one to watch. So we're right now at that level at 966. We got a little break above, but we got rejected. So we'll see what happens here. On the MACD, we did cross over the signal line just slightly. We're kind of trading right alongside of it. It's kind of neck and neck, but we are currently in the overbought territory according to the RSI. So we'll see if we start to pull back or if we just kind of ride this line on top. See what happens here. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of the Fibonacci retracement because we really don't need it right now. We had a nice healthy pullback here. It never even reached 40%. I don't even know if it hit 38. Actually, let me pull it back up. We'll take a quick look. Yeah, we broke underneath 38%. However, we didn't even close about that. So very, very bullish on the stock today. And for us, we're doing okay. 800 shares long at a dollar cost average of $8.98, $547, about $5.30 up on the day here. So again, we see this quite often. I mean, we go from like being up, 15, 1600 down to maybe up 100, even a couple. We haven't been negative on this position in a very long time, but anytime we drop down to that $9 range, it's time to buy up some more. We know it's a very, very solid level of support. And if we can see it get back down there, that's when I start to purchase up shares. We've done it twice now, and we start closing out other positions and start adding in into this position here on AMC. So we're not quite all in, but we're really, really damn close to being all in on AMC. Super close to being all in on AMC. So, Sensonics actually doing okay. It's floating around that $2 range. I think, we're still down quite a bit on Sensonics. I think we only got 88 long, 87 long, 375 is our average price. So, quite a bit down on Sens, but it's a long-term hold play here on the channel. We don't know that much about, what's going on. I don't really look at the analysis on it too much. However, I do know about the company. We'll kind of go into the company here in a little bit. For right now, we did break past that level of resistance at 966. Again, we are in the overbought territory here, reaching a high of 974 on the day, and we'll see. I would really like to see us close out above 1001 today, or even higher. Shoot, but 1001 would be nice for anybody who's holding those options for $10. At this point, you might start become maybe you're getting profitable. I don't know. Potentially not. The Theta Decay is probably eating your contract up for the most part. You're so close to expiration. If you have an expiring contract today at 10:01, I mean, I think it would normally tell you what you need, which I want to say is probably you need to be about the 10:15 to actually make intrinsic value on that contract. So still a ways to go for those of you that are holding $10 strikes for today's expiration. All right, so when we get viewers in here is kind of what I want to talk about this. I do have linked in the description. If you guys go check out the God Pill, his YouTube channel. I normally have his channel linked. I think I might have taken the link off. I kind of cleaned up everything that was in my YouTube. But I do have the link to the petition that he has introduced. And what I want to do is I kind of want to read this email that was sent out and kind of give a background on what this is talking about, right? So I haven't really seen anybody else talking about the petition, but honestly, I took yesterday off, went and looked at some new cars with my girlfriend. It's about time for us to purchase a new vehicle for her. Her car's got about 260,000 miles on it. My car's about 15 years old. Doesn't have a lot of miles, so we will potentially keep mine. They are both paid for, and so for me, I'm not really excited to jump into a payment, but we test drove a Mercedes. What did we drive yesterday? The GLE 350. Oh my God! If you haven't, just go test drive one. Mercedes GLE 350. That thing is freaking amazing. It's a little bit out of our price range, so it's more than likely like 99% sure that it's not the vehicle that we're going to get, especially not a 2021 year model. The older class would be the ML 350, but now it's the GLE 350. We're more along the lines of like a GLC 300, I think. Yeah, so this is kind of the size we're looking for. But anyhow, I mean, almost the entire dash all the way through is like as a screen. The seats will conform to your body. Like the car is freaking amazing. It has like a kind of like a Siri, onboard Siri. You can tell it like you're cold, and it'll automatically change the temperature, and it can hear who's talking on which side of the car. And if the driver says he's cold, it will lower only on the driver's side the temperature, or move the temperature up. Like it's an amazing, amazing car. I highly recommend, just go to your Mercedes dealership, just take a test drive of the vehicle, and who knows? People talking about Teslas with their attendees. When this thing gets up there, yeah, I'm looking for a GLE 350 from Mercedes. Again, a little out of the price range for us right now, and I'm not like super stoked about getting a car payment. Almost everything I have is paid for, other than one of my motorcycles, and I don't actually owe very much on that. I've paid off probably 60% of that, maybe more, maybe 70% of that vehicle is paid off. It's a 2019 Harley Street Glide special. I do like the Harleys, if you haven't noticed. This is the Harley Davidson Pan America that I have for my desktop here. So just kind of watching AMC starting to cool down on the RSI. We did cross back over on the MACD here. You can see the MACD's crossing over the signal line right now, and just kind of staying a little bit flat here. Volume's not super high here. We're sub 150s around. There's a couple decent ones there, 290. But again, if you were looking at something like RHE, and then you see the volume on RHE is it'll just take last minute. That's 111. That's 357,000. You can see there. I mean, 1.28 million, outstanding amount of volume. That's the kind of volume we want to see in AMC to help bump us up. Again, their float is only 1.5 million, so maybe someone out there can explain to me how a stock with a float of 1.5 million can trade 1.3 million in 1 minute. It's odd. And okay, so I'm all over the place here. I'm gonna pull up this email that I got from Godpill. When did he send this to me? It was like 2 days ago, I think. Or it might have been yesterday. I actually ended up reading it yesterday. Just kind of taking a day off. That's not what I'm looking for. It might take me just a second to find it here. So basically, okay, so this is on Wednesday. So yeah, about 2 days ago, we'll see where we get that support. If we get that support held up at 950 on AMC, as we're starting to pull back. So basically, what the petition is for is that we want to kind of force AMC to do a stock recount. I'll read through this article here on how Martin Shkreli caused a 10,000% squeeze on KBIO. This was back in 2015. And basically, from my understanding of the article, is that only the shareholders can ask for a recount on the stock, right? So any of their shares that have been loaned out, they can ask to have those shares back and recount them. And what that means is that whoever had borrowed shares from the shareholder has to return those shares, so that the shareholder can get a count of what he has or she has or they have, and count them up. And so that forces anyone who has borrowed those shares to have to go out and purchase other shares to pay them back, right? You're basically margin calling in a sense for the shares, right? You're saying, like, I got 1 million shares, I've been loaning them out, I need those shares back. So whoever has borrowed them, now they have to cover those positions and buy them back. And we all know about naked shorting, that that's what these hedge funds are doing. They're borrowing these shares and they're not paying them back. And that's how they're able to keep shorting this thing as much as they're shorting it. So here I just want to quickly bring up the this new article here. and we're going to kind of go over it very, very quickly. I don't want to take too much time on it, but it's very, very good article to read. I would assume that it's probably, if it's not, I'm going to go ahead and link it right now. Actually, let me link it really quickly into the description here. We'll just get this thing linked up so you guys can go and click on it if you'd like to. I do have the, Jesus, that's a super long address here. I'm just going to title it Squeeze Article and put some space in here. All right, so we got that linked up there. I'm just going to quickly read through this, all right? So KBIO, I'm sure everybody remembers Martin Shkreli for either him purchasing the Wu-Tang, like, one and only album that he, you know, they made one, right? There's one copy. He purchased it for however many millions of dollars. Also for him raising the price on an AIDS drug like 500%. Like, everybody knows this guy's a big piece of shit, right? And what they didn't, probably, I didn't know this, is that in November of 2015, Martin Shkreli orchestrated a violent short squeeze on a failed biotech, Calibos, we'll just call it KBIO, or KBI, yeah, we'll just call it KBIO, that caused its share price to rise by a staggering 10,000% in just 5 trading days. KBIO had been perceived by short sellers as a no-brainer near-term zero. KBIO's only real drug had just failed, and the company had insufficient cash to pay over $6 million in debt. So they were massively in debt. They pretty much had nothing out on the market that could even support them because the one and only drug was failed. So, you know, you had a lot of retail investors shorting this thing, as well as I'm sure everyone else, right? So yet the fact that KBIO was entirely defunct and insolvent did nothing to slow the meteoric rise of its share price, and that it is the entire point. No matter how abysmal a company's financial condition may be, when the number of shares shorted exceeds the tradable float, even the most utterly worthless stocks can spike much higher. When such squeeze takes hold, fundamentals can cease to matter for a time. The share price simply becomes a short-term math problem, right? Basically, we've got a float of, like, let's call it 417 or 400. We'll just call it 420 million on AMC. And if the squeeze, you know, if they're shorting more than what's in the floats, it's just gonna massively. And we think that's potentially what has happened here. Not only do you see the percentage of free float that's on loan, and that's a short interest of that, but you got to think about naked shorting and how many millions of shares, hundreds of millions of shares are actually shorted on AMC. But going back to KBIO, squeeze is most memorable for the retail trader Joe Campbell, who launched a GoFundMe campaign to help pay for his personal trading losses, which he suffered as having a fairly small short position in KBIO. Not only did the $37,000 in his E-Trade account go to zero, but Campbell was left owing E-Trade an additional $106,000. Yeah, well, there's his little thing that, you know, hey, it's risky to short, so I don't feel bad for the guy. I mean, it's risky to short. Martin Shkreli, often referred to as the most hated man in America, is generally more famous for his move in 2015 to raise the price of an AIDS drug by 5,000%. His unapologetic profiteering and general public insolence ended up drawing massive public ire down onto the entire biotech space. In 2018, March 2018, Shkreli was sentenced to 7 years in prison for defrauding investors in connection with his 2 MSMB hedge funds and for manipulation of shares of Recount. Recount was another small biotech where Shkreli got himself appointed as CEO by way of investing into the company. But as the massive squeeze he orchestrated on KBIO, the infamous Shkreli has never faced significant formal consequences. In fact, when looking at the numerous instances of orchestrated infinity squeezes over the past 10 years, it's notable that so far no one has faced consequences for doing so. And why should they? If they're not doing anything illegal, why would they face any kind of consequences, right? So lesson number 1, fundamentals do not matter, period. In early November of 2015, KBIO was utterly defunct. Failed biotech company clearly headed for insolvency. KBIO had just a single feasible drug in clinical trials at the time and had no revenues. When that drug failed, KBIO was left with insufficient cash to pay nearly $7 million in debt. KBIO quickly slashed headcount by 61% and then publicly announced that earlier hopes of pursuing strategic alternatives would not be viable due to having such limited cash resources. Basically, they're going under very, very fast, sinking ship. Then on November 17th, 2015, the NASDAQ notified KBO that the stock would be delisted because it had failed to file a 10Q for September quarter. So to be clear, KBIO's problems were catastrophic and unfixable. The stock was rightfully regarded by short sellers as a no-brainer near-term short to zero with no realistic possibility of recovery. KBIO suddenly resurrected. Shares of KBIO, damn, can I just call it KB? I'm going to call it KB. KB had bottomed at 44 cents on November 16, 2015, but then quickly spiked back to over $2 on November 18th. Most observers attributed the rise to some simple but unexplained short squeeze. As an obvious zero, KB attracted many small retail short sellers looking to play the fade. In fact, there was a very good reason why the stock had been spiking up from 44 cents. After the close of markets on November 18th, just one day after KB received its delisting notice, KB announced that an investor group led by Martin Shkreli had just acquired more than 50% of KB shares. So this is why the share price had spiked from 44 cents. When the market opened the next day, KB skyrocketed from $2 to over $14 on staggering volume as terrified shorts scrambled for the exits. So we'll get to the meat and potatoes here very, very soon. I'm going to pull back up and just see where we sit. Currently sitting at $9.63 here on AMC. I said I wasn't going to read this whole thing, and yet here I am. I'm reading all through it. I felt like we were going to force. It looks like we're getting very, very close here to what's going on, right? So just to recap, this KBIO, Kalo Bios, what happened was they're going bankrupt. They have no income. They have no drugs. They're a pharmaceutical drug company with no drugs. They're the one drug they had actually failed in testing, and so basically they have nothing. They got delisted, and then everybody's starting to short this thing. They see it's going to zero, right? There's no reason for this thing to go up. There's just nothing they can do. They have no money. They cut their headcount. They fired 61% of their labor force. So they're sitting at 44 cents. They got delisted. So Martin Shkreli and a group of investors come in and they buy it up. They start raising the thing up. A lot of people saw the rise and started short it even more, but what they didn't know is that a group of investors came in and bought it up. And so from then, it massively jumped up because the short sellers were scrambling to cover their shorts because a new investment group had came in and bought it up. And, they didn't know what was going to happen. So phase 2 here. This is the meat and potatoes, and this is what the entire petition is all about. Forced borrow recall. After briefly hitting $45, KBIO quickly retreated into the 20s. After all, it was still just a defunct biotech stock without a real drug. Even with a bit of cash from Shkreli, the stock was worth nowhere near a market cap of over $200 million. Short sellers piled in to short more in the $20 on the basis that this was just a squeeze that would quickly fall apart. As KBIO's share price had been spiking, short interest had been growing, and Shkreli now owns 70% of the outstanding shares. Then on Thanksgiving Day 2015, when markets were closed, Shkreli tweeted that he had decided to recall his KBIO shares that had been lent out to short sellers. The resulting squeeze was just a simple math problem. When Shkreli recalled his shares, brokers would be forced to buy in the short sellers, causing it to spike uncontrollably. Here's the actual tweets from Shkreli, I'm guessing. I spoke with my counsel and advisor and decided to stop lending my KBIO shares out until I better understand the advantages of doing so. I apologize for any inconvenience this may create in lending markets, and I will probably resume lending at some point. Happy Thanksgiving. When the market reopened on Black Friday for a shortened session, shares of KBIO continued to squeeze higher, reminding some investors of the Volkswagen Porsche Infiniti squeeze from 2008. Shares surged 31% as shorts trampled over one another to close their positions. The stock again surged back to as high as $45 and remained elevated for weeks thereafter. Everyone loses. The 10,000% squeeze in KBIO was epic in amplitude, but was ultimately very short-lived. Within 6 more weeks, the stock would end up being delisted and was once again trading for less than $2. Even though trader don't care about somebody who shorted something and now they got burned. And then it goes on to talk about why he was thrown in jail. It had nothing to do with KBIO. It was from another companies. Nothing happened with KBIO. That there was absolutely nothing here. But the key takeaways from KBIO Infiniti squeeze. The ability to say I told you 6 months down the road has precisely zero value, especially for traders who went broke in the process. When shorting any stock, it's always important to know who is on the opposite side of the trade. That'd be us apes, and what they might be capable of. Easy to short does not equate to easy to cover. As late as November 16th, the short interest in KBIO has stood at less than 6%. The cost of raw shares was not excessive. Then suddenly, double whammy of rising short interest against a sudden change in available flow is often easy to miss, especially because there are a slight delay on the reporting of short interest and ownership changes. Actual short interest is generally only disclosed bi-weekly, while investors generally have at least several days to disclose changes in their holdings. The fact that Shirleki ultimately came to an unpleasant end does nothing to reverse the losses of those who were on the wrong side of the squeeze. So I know that was very long and kind of drawn out. Essentially, this guy came in, bought up a bunch of shares. He did a share recount, and it forced all the shares that were being borrowed to be returned, right? So I guess, he had shares that were lended out, as I'm sure almost all of us apes have shares that are lent out, and he forced a recall on his shares, which was 71% of the float, which is a massive number, which will be huge for us here. But what do they say? We have like 3.1 million individual shareholders. So potentially. But basically, yeah, so he had 71% of the float. He recalled his shares, and it forced a squeeze because anyone who had borrowed on his shares had to return them because he recalled them. So that's what the petition is about. That's attached. Go check out the God Pills channel if you guys want more information. But this article kind of breaks down how we would force the hand and make this short squeeze happen in AMC. If we can get a petition that we can move to AMC and say, hey, we want a share recount. I don't know when that could actually potentially take place. It seems like it's possibly on next year's annual shareholder meeting, but you have to get this stuff if we hold as much as we do of the float and we're not able to kind of implement the things that we want, this is how we get to the heads of AMC and tell them, hey, we want to do a recount. We're getting screwed over here because they're just borrowing on our shares and shorting it and shorting it and shorting it. And it's a never-ending cycle of FTDs and naked shorts and synthetic shares, and it's getting crazy. I'm gonna quickly check back over here. All right, so set them out $21.76 or 83. So kind of consolidating down here. Got a bounce off the middle VWAP on RHE. And again, we're just watching RHE because I think RHE is going through a squeeze. For those of you who don't know and haven't seen, earlier today we talked about this, and we talked about this on the stream 2 days ago. RHE is at max utilization. Their cost to borrow is at 143, and they're only a 1.5 million share float. So to see the volume here, look at this volume, 1.28 million in 1 minute here, and they're only a 1.5 million float. Something's crazy. Something's crazy. They are massively overshorted here. There's probably a shit ton of naked shorts and synthetic shares here on this position as well. And it's a lot smaller, a hell of a lot smaller, but I think it could potentially show us what a squeeze in AMC could potentially play out to be, what it would look like, what the opening couple of days could look like, how it could pan out, how the media will cover it. If you look at the news, there is absolutely no news. No one's talking about it. And then I do want to just kind of bring up this. If we look at AMC's on the bottom, RHE's on the top here. AMC squeezing back in January. RHE actually squeezed back in December, about almost 1 month to the day earlier, right? So we're potentially, if we were to kind of, there's no correlation here other than the fact that they look similar, and that I think that RHE is going through another squeeze right now. And but if, in my head, I'm like, oh, look, they squeezed at this time in December, and then we did it in January, and then here we are again, and they're going through it again. Potentially we're about a month out. I don't know. That's just something in my head that's kind of clicking in there, but they look very, very similar here. Very similar. Again, the top is RHE, the bottom is AMC. They are very, very similar charts on the 184 hour. And then just scroll a little bit over, and then bam, you can see right now RHE is going through its second squeeze here for the year. So anyhow, enough about RHE. Just find it very interesting, and I kind of just keep bringing it up. Let's see what we got going on here in the chat. Chat. Appreciate everybody swinging by, dropping a comment in the chat. Moritz, Vom, and Ratchet Reigns. Freaking awesome name. Appreciate everybody swinging by, just watching the video. What I do want to look at, because I do want to enter a position in FSR. See where we currently set here. It's on my... Alright, so not a bad time to start buying some shares. Probably could have gotten in yesterday. Actually, super low here. Where are we at? Let's take a look on the 184 hour. Alright, so having itself a little bit of reversal. You see some massive downtrend here. I could potentially go ahead and start opening a position now, which is where I'd like to be. They're just not finding any support level anywhere. I mean, the next level of support for them is down here at this $8.70 range, according to the 184 hour. So they hit a high of 31.96. I don't think this was any kind of squeeze here. I'd actually have to take a look, but potentially they're announcing a vehicle. So for those of you who don't know, it's called the Fisker Ocean. It's a 2022 model year electric SUV. Looks pretty dope. I think it looks like a Range Rover. It's all electric, and the price is going to be under $43,000. So it's all-wheel drive, over I think 300 horsepower. Pretty cool looking SUV, and supposedly there were some talks about it having a heads up or a HUD on the windshield. So that'd be kind of cool to see, like a display that's on the windshield somewhere. And I'm just gonna pull up a picture. We did this like super early on in the stream, but this could be a long play here. It's pretty risky, but if they can manage to pump this thing out, it'd be kind of cool. So here you can see the vehicle here. I think it looks pretty sweet. Reminds me a lot of a Range Rover. Obviously, this isn't a real photograph here, just a rendering of what it could look like. This is the actual vehicle. Actually, unless this guy's like 6 or 7 foot tall, this thing's going to be pretty short. So that actually is a negative takeaway for me. I thought it looked a little bit taller. This thing actually looks super small when you see somebody standing next to it. Is this guy like, 6 foot tall? I'm kind of curious to know the dimensions now of the vehicle, because it actually looks a lot smaller here. Either way, I think it's still a pretty cool looking vehicle. And for everything that there's some other people, I don't know why it's taking so long to render. I think it looks pretty cool. And then the price on the Ocean is going to be about I think 43,000. So why am I doing this? There we go. So you can reserve it now for like 200. So look, it's even less than 43. It's at 37.5, right? So that's the base price, 37.5. You're probably going to pay about 43, 45. You may even get some rebates, some government rebates, because it's going to be an electric vehicle, or it is an electric vehicle. But I think it's a pretty cool looking car. And anyhow, so right now, stock price has really dropped out of the sky. It's down to about 11.5 range. You can reserve it now for $250. I don't know when exactly it's going to release. Also, where does it say in here? Something about so it's got it's basically shit. Is this a lease? But probably not. Oh, so they do have even their lease, right? So their lease is at 30,000 miles. So that's actually a really good lease. Anyhow, just I would kind of show you guys Fisker. We're actually looking to enter position. We've been holding on, waiting for quite some time to enter position here on the Fisker Ocean, or the Fisker. And currently at 11:53, we might go ahead and enter position today. Probably could have timed it in the right at $11. Everything's looking good, on the RSI. It's starting to make a little bit of reversal here on the 184 hour. So I don't quite know if it's going to keep dropping. Um, I mean, it's starting to look like it's about to get a rebound here. It's actually up 2% from close of yesterday. I do have a little bit of dry powder in the account. Looks like I will probably enter a position here in Fisker today. You can see back here at 31. We have been watching since it was over here at the $21 area since back early February, or I have been watching since then. So I think there's some potential there for profit for sure, especially when they actually start rolling this vehicle out. It'll probably have a lot of hype, and then we could dump this thing off, take a little bit of a profit, but it might take a while to get there. If anything, it actually could take more of a dive down there. Doop doop doo. So let's take a look here. Just looking back intraday here on AMC. Looks like we got a nice little W forming here. I mean that's clear as day. You see the W. So look for a little bit of a slight pullback potentially, and then start testing this run up here. Although the other thing is that we're super low in volume. We're sub 100,000 in volume. So sorry, the mic's too close to my face. So I don't know. We're gonna see. Normally how a W would potentially pan out is you would see a triple top setup here, 1 2 3. You'd see a little bit of a pullback, and then it start to run up. So potentially look for this thing to start making a move here. We are in the pullback phase, but again, super low volume, super low volume here. Welcome anybody to the chat. So linked in the description is a petition that the God Pill has started. If you guys aren't familiar with the channel and you want some options information or just some pure entertainment, go check out his channel. A lot of people may have problems with the guy. He's a unique character, and I appreciate that. And he's very honest. He pretty much says it like it is, and he's a funny guy, and he knows a shitload about options. Whether or not you agree with him and his other beliefs and opinions, that's on you. But the dude he knows options, right? He hasn't really talked about it too much anymore, or as of late that I've seen. But although I try to watch as much of his streams as possible. He does have his own web page. It's called like Race Stocks Pricing, or something along those lines, and it's very, very interesting and intelligent website that he's putting together. And guy knows his stuff when it comes to options. Definitely a lot more than what I know. But anyhow, so he's created this petition to sign to go to AMC and say we want to share a recount, right? Only the shareholders can actually get a recount on their stock, which basically means that we go to anybody who has lent out shares, for shorts, like we get those shares, or just on borrow, like any of the borrowed shares that we have. If we're saying we want our shares recounted, anybody who has borrowed those shares, they have to cover those, right? They have to buy those back, and it can force the squeeze. We read through the article. Excuse me. The article is actually posted in the description. And it kind of explains back in 2015 how the most hated man in America, Martin Shkreli, was able to come into a company, noticed that this thing was overshorted, and he had 71% of the float, and he authorized a recount on his shares, and so everybody who was shorting, they had to come in and they had to buy up those shares, and it forced a squeeze of over 10,000% in 5 days. So it's just one way that we can force the hand on the squeeze instead of hedge funds drawing this thing out, making people lose money in options. Anybody who's got these options call. I mean, I've already lost over $300 and something on options contracts through AMC on my own accord, of course. Not from anything that I've listened to anybody else say, but I went in and thought I'm just going to mess around, play with some options, and it's money that I was gambling and willing to basically gambling, right? Willing to lose, right? It was just money I put into my portfolio solely for the intent that, hey, I'm okay with losing this money. And that's how you probably should be in the market in general. But with most of the money in my portfolio, I'm not looking to lose it. This money, I was like, all right, it's okay. So if it's gone, I understand the risk involved. I entered into some strikes that were very, very close to expiration. And didn't pan out, so I entered into another one, a couple contracts close to expiration, like within the same week, and Theta had eaten my ass up. Sorry, that probably sounded pretty sexual, but it was not in nature. Theta had eaten away at my contracts, and basically I think I ended up cashing out between the 4 contracts. It was like $7 I ended up getting back out of the 300 and something that I put in. So Options contracts are very, very risky, and you should pretty much know what you're doing before you go in. Anyhow, anybody who's got these, you know, any kind of even like my June 18th calls, right? I'm probably gonna lose all that money from June 18th because this thing is not squeezing. We thought it would squeeze before the summertime, and it has yet to do so, and it's just being delayed. It's just a fucking cycle in a circle of FTDs. They're naked shorts, them issuing synthetic shares, never covering shit. No one's getting margin called. Nothing's going on. Everything, the news is the same thing. Oh, the DTCC is doing this. Oh, the SEC is interviewing this and doing that and looking into this, and nothing is happening, right? This is one way that for us shareholders, we can take the power back and say, we want to recall on our shares. You know, we own the majority of the float. Let's do a recall, and that will force these shorties to have to cover their short positions. So that's just one way. Anyhow, if you find it interesting, go check it out. Link for the petitions down in the description, and then a link to the article that kind of describes how that was utilized in one scenario to force a 10,000% squeeze in 5 days is linked below also. So it's pretty interesting stuff. Just go check it out if you'd like to. If not, that's totally understandable as well. I actually see if I can even pull this up. There we go. Oh, all right. So I need to change. Obviously, I need to change something here. Oh, there it goes. All right. So when I did enter this in, here's the actual petition here from change.org. All I did was just take the HTTP and just that short little web address after the description and just put in here. It did put up some other numbers. I had to take everything out, delete it again, and do it once more. But it did pop in here, and he has updated this to talk about the this is the actual article that I linked for the KBIO Infinity Squeeze here. Looks like right now we have about 248 signatures on the petition here. So right, our next goal is 252 signatures. We're trying to get, or we need to get to 500, right? So, you know, this thing is just started taking on, and it's starting to move here. So, we are trying to get this ball rolling, right? We want to take the ball in our court and show everyone we have power here, and get the recount. I don't think this is anything negative to AMC. I don't think it's like us against AMC, the heads of AMC, anything like that. I think that it's just a way that we can help push this squeeze by taking control of the shares that are being lent out, our shares that are being lent out to short against us. And I haven't seen anybody else talk about it. I'm sure potentially there's other people that have talked about it, but no one else has gotten out and done this and actually went a step forward and said, hey, let's make a petition. Let's get this ball rolling. If we can't do it now, at least let's get it on for next year's votes for AMC, right? You know, this is what the petition is about. It's to try to get it on the next vote possible for the shareholders, right? For the shareholders meeting. So we want to get it on the vote, but we need some sigs to do so, like some signatures. Sorry, just making some game plans for Monday on the site. Anyhow, so enough about the petition. I know you guys probably just want to watch what AMC's doing and stuff like that. I think it's very interesting, and I agree with the movement here. I think that we should be pushing a petition out there to try to get our share recount, whatever it may be, right? As soon as possible, the better. Just to show that we're not messing around, that we're going to control the power. These hedge funds are they're borrowing our shares through our brokerage accounts, and then they're shorting them and driving the price down, and just delaying the inevitable short squeeze that we're trying to accomplish here. They're just using our shares against us, along with other ways that they're doing it. illegally, like naked shorting and stuff like that. So anyhow, it's just kind of to help push this thing along. So not quite the we could just consolidate. See if we get that run over here again. Super low volume. I don't anticipate that that we're gonna run up super high here today. Not with the amount of volume. We just don't see the volume. We don't see the volume. We're not gonna see the price action we'd actually really like. So when I talk about on RHE being very this thing, this is it. Oh man, did my computer freeze? Wow, that's odd. It froze up for a second there. Very strange. I don't know why. So anyhow, this is what I'm talking about being very careful here. This thing is a heavily shorted position here. I still think that it is going through a squeeze on RHE, but you can see it can drop out of the sky very quickly. You think that you're trying to get back up this 23 and sell, and you're currently at 22.50, and then bam, all of a sudden the bottom falls out and it drops $2 on you from 22 down to 20.50. $2 in 1 minute it'll drop on you. So you gotta be very careful here. This is kind of what happened to us, and then from there it just kept falling out. So I'm not telling anybody to enter a position in RHE. As a matter of fact, I'm not entering another position in RHE. Not at this price point. There's no way in hell. I already lost like $400 on it. Actually, I mean, I guess I made 100, then I lost 500, so it really is 400. So I mean, when I closed positions in AT&T, I took some of my profit and basically used that profit on AT&T. Oh man, so YouTube not receiving enough video to maintain a smooth streaming. Hopefully you guys not receiving any buffering like it's saying here. Enough about that. All right, so we're starting to get a little bit of push here. Seeing what's going on. I'd like to see us break above this $9.74 level of resistance here. See if we can get above that 9 3/4. Start turning back up to 10. I apologize if there's any buffering going on your end, or it's really on my end here on the video. See if I can start closing some of this stuff out over here on my screen. Maybe that'll help. Hopefully the internet doesn't go out completely. Because I did see yesterday AT&T was out, and they were working on some lines. Although we don't, our internet service is not through AT&T, but I don't know. Maybe they come out and jack with some somehow. I don't know how it all works. So we're starting to make that little push upwards here. Again, just on super low volume. So I don't anticipate, I just really don't expect seeing anything major happening here. I'd like to see us make that run back up to 974 and start testing it again. However, we're just really low volume. I mean, this volume is trash, honestly. That's not bad, 229, but when you're sub 100,000 on a position like AMC, where you have a float of over 420 million or 417 million, whatever the float is, it's not good. I guess the other thing is like, we're just not selling. No one is selling this thing, so just the positions aren't really there. I actually do want to pull up. So we get in that break, 977, so we can hold it. We are in overbought territory, so don't think we will stay up here for too long. See if we'll stay above and use 975 as a level of support, though. That's what I'd like to see, is us get that level of support. So you can see the W did play out. We had our triple top set from here. 1, 2. It looks like that third one wasn't until like a little bit farther on. We had our pullback, and then we just consolidated for a moment, and then we started to shoot up here. I'm not doing too bad. Up about $630 on the day here on AMC. And what I want to do is I want to pull up. Oh, sorry, I had extra. That's what I wanted to pull up. So we can see the sell ball here at 9. Now down to 976. About 7,000 shares. They're kind of just mirroring across to keep it where it's at. You can see at 974 and 976. What they'll do is they'll kind of mirror that within a penny of each other. And buy and sell. Stupid hedgies. Stupid hedgies. So again, anybody new to the stream or new to the channel, this will be the last day of the market open live stream for a while. I'll pop up occasionally. I'll be doing some videos, some market recap. What we'll do is I'll start doing breakdowns on positions in the portfolio. I'll try to build up the portfolio a little bit stronger than what we have right now. Maybe I'll just exit out, even for some losses, close out some of these positions, and take the L. I don't like to. I really say don't do it. It's basically like giving away money, because if you just hold on, eventually, potentially, you can get that money back. However, we're not down. We only got a couple, but I would like to kind of diversify the portfolio a little bit more. And what we're going to do is we're going to transition over to where we make like market recaps. Each day will be a different video on a different position. So I'll do a weekly recap on whatever position. Let's just call it Fubo, Rocket. If I go into FSR, I'll do a weekly recap, and we'll have like, Mondays will be like this, whatever. On Monday, AMC on Monday, or Fubo on Monday, Rocket on Tuesday, Sins on Wednesday, whatever it may be in the portfolio. We're going to start transitioning over to do that. There'll be, 5 to 15 minute long videos where we'll just do weekly recaps on what happened, where I see things happening along those lines. And then we'll, potentially just do an AMC daily recap. So we'll see how it works out for the next few weeks. We're gonna be transitioning the channel over to something like that, just because I'll be working for the pretty much the entirety of the market, so it will be very difficult for me to hop on and do any kind of live streams. So just taking a quick look at FSR, see where they're at. They're down to 1140. All right, so what I'm thinking, I might be able to get this thing for a little bit cheaper here, potentially around the 1130 range. What I'd like to see here. We are kind of finding a little bit of a support level here, 1138. I'm going to see what I can invest here and see if we can grab some shares of FSR while it's down in this $11 range here. So we're starting to have a little bit of a pullback here on AMC. You can see we're in the overbought territory, just pulling back slightly. Let's see what the volume got up to there. 360,000 on that minute in volume, so nothing crazy. Still pretty low. We're still doing pretty good. We're up 7.31% from close of yesterday, so that's pretty damn good. We haven't seen a green day in almost 6 or 7 days now, and to have one above 5% is pretty good, pretty nice. Close that out. Counts, balances. Let's see. What do we got here? Not a lot of cash here. Pretty much used everything in AMC yesterday. AMC starting to pull back pretty hard. All right, so doesn't look like I have a lot. I have about $252 to mess around with. So potentially about 22 shares here on FSR. And what we'll potentially look to do, kind of consolidate on here. Let me just go ahead and buy right here. Well, son of a biscuit. Yeah, I'm not looking to make a day trade, man. Come on, just trying to get some shares over here. So it looks like it's ask price is up a couple of pennies away from where we're currently looking at. And we may not get filled at this time. But we're going to leave it alone. We think it's a pretty good level of support there, so we're going to see. So we pull back to 961. Looks like 950 could be that range where we hold some support. YouTube looks like it's still rolling here, so nothing, I don't know. Let me know on your end how the video is looking, if it's looking pretty crappy or what. If anybody's out there. I just have this error message here. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth, blah, 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 but not really understanding why. All right, so it looks like we were able to get filled. Or were we? And we were. All right, so there it is. So we got filled here at 11:39. We've got 22 positions long. in FSR. We're going to be looking to enter some more positions here as it starts to fall down. This is just a risk play. I think that there's potential here in the future. This just being another EV play here, and we've seen in the past where it has gone up to. If you look on the 180, you can see it got up to $31. It kind of trade, in that range, but it's just really sold off ever since, with some slight pullbacks. We are looking to get another pullback here, even if it pulls back a little bit. We'll take some profits and exit out, wait for another pullback. We don't know where it's going to end up. It's really not held on any level of support thus far. It's fallen all the way down. We thought this was a good level of support down here at 16. Luckily, we did not enter a position over here. However, I did have my alert set for anything below like $17, and it just kept falling, so I left it alone. We thought it was a very, very strong level of support here. Unfortunately, it was not. Maybe I screwed up, and I should have looked at some news regarding FSR. Potentially, that's probably what I should have done to see like what's going on. Why are they delaying things? Is there something being pushed back? Is something going on? And that could be hurting it. All right, so here we go. This is the reason why it's dropping. Fisker won't begin production until late 2022. Says it's not hit by chip shortage. So there you go. It's probably potentially fell all the way before that. Goldman Sachs downgrades Fisker to sell, lowers price target to $10. It was at 15, now it's at 10. I'm sure more people have followed suit. But what we're gonna do in Fisker is we're just gonna hold this thing long term. It's not a lot of money that we just put in there. We can potentially get a pop off of it, and as soon as we do, we'll go ahead and close the position over there. So nothing to worry about. Look to take a little bit of profits here. Maybe they have some good news and something happens and they say, oh, you know what, we're going to be able to start production a little bit sooner. This is a California-based company, so we know that they're having issues with the COVID and the government not wanting to open things up. So I'm very curious to know how Fisker is going to play out. So we're gonna spend some time. We're going to be watching Fisker. We're going to see what happens. And, potentially get some money out of position. We're only, 22 long, so it's nothing crazy. We'll see. Anyhow, watching AMC, still down about this 960 range. Not much is going on in the rest of the portfolio. Fubo actually up $1.08 here. Truthfully, probably should have exited the position in Fubo. Dollar cost average of 23.12 here, currently sitting at 18, so we're down about $124 on Fubo right now. And I need to go ahead and invest some more capital in Fubo, I think, to lower our dollar cost. Our average share price here, since seeing we're pretty much at the bottom down here at this $18, $17 range, I think we hold up. I think really our support level, golly, is about 15. Yeah, 15.07 is where I had this price level. So since how we're trading below that, we got to bounce above it. So if we can hold above this $17.75 level of support, we should be good for a little bit. We did bounce below, which is not a good sign, but if we can stay above, we can start making a run back up. So I do need to look to enter a bigger position into Fubo. Well, all right, folks, I'm going to leave you off with that for the day. For the next few weeks, we'll see what happens. I want to thank everybody for watching the stream. Moritz Vom for sending a shout out, and Ratchet Reigns for the subscription. Appreciate you guys. Be sure to check out the petition from the God Pill if you guys want to check it out. It's in the link in the description. Read that article from Martin Shkreli about Martin Shkreli and the 10,000% squeeze that happened in 5 days on KBIO back in 2015. If you guys are interested in finding out what the petition is trying to accomplish for AMC here, we're trying to force the hand to get that share recount. Anyhow, I want to thank everybody who's watched these streams for the last few months. It's been a pleasure making them. I've learned a lot. I've grown a lot as a trader. I've learned some valuable lessons, some that, cost me a little money, and some that made me a little bit of money. And I just want to thank everybody for watching the stream. It's been a pleasure. But from here on out, it seems like the transition to actually making some recap videos is gonna happen. And I'll see you guys when I see you. Potentially I can get on and do some other videos, some live streams here and there, but for the most part, it's going to be transitioned to videos. And look for the change in the channel. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate all the subscription, the support, the love, and thank you once again. Yeah, I'll see you when I see you guys. Thank you. Peace out.